Namaste, beloveds. This is Mother Wit, Valerie AMES, all that I am, that. and um, let me ground myself for a minute. Okay. This is something that I wrote this morning. Um, it's just something that came up in my consciousness, and it's dealing with the contrast between existence and non-existence, and thinking about putting it in the context of the grandfather's Cherokee to wolf story. Um, and I'll just repeat that story very briefly. Um, the grandfather and his son went into the woods camping, and the grandfather told the grandson, "There are two wolves living inside of you, and they are constantly at war with each other. One is, I guess you would call it good, and one is what you would call bad. And they're always at war, always fighting each other." And the little boy, the grandson, asked, "Well, grandfather, which one of these two wolves will win?" And the grandfather said, "The one that you feed." And, beloveds, that has never left my consciousness, my mind, my conscious mind, my unconscious mind, my subconscious mind. That is imprinted upon it. It has been since I very first heard the story itself. And it's resonated inside of me so deeply. It's come to take on many different layers and many different meanings. And today, those two wolves represent existence and non-existence. And the one that wins is the one that we feed. And so let me get into it, beloveds. Acknowledging the power of non-existence. The yin and the yang principle. The substance of matter, the ephemeral of shadow, the contrast of light and dark, perfection and imperfection, existence and non-existence, ego, authentic self, ego and authentic self-existence. They are one combined lens. Only we have separated them. This is shown in the fractions of the Horus eye. And beloveds, that's the Egyptian eye of Horus. And if you look at that, you can Google it by the fractions of the Horus eye. And it breaks that eye up into so many dimensions or fragments. And each one of those fractioned pieces represent a certain sense that that eye represents in what we see. And let me keep going. Through conditioning and the untrained mind consciousness, we have flipped the universal laws. We have gone awry of them. We are inside the mirror viewing existence as non-existence. And writing that made me pause, because I'm like, I saw the mirror and I saw myself looking out of the mirror at myself. And so what was in the mirror was non-existence, looking at existence. Both are existing, okay? Just like the two wolves. But one is inside the mirror, and that is non-existence. And one is outside the mirror, and that one has substance and has manifested itself. Okay, let me keep going. I just wanted to break that down a little bit when I said flip the universal laws. And when you look at a mirror, you reflect. And you reflect from the other side. Just like in this camera, my mold is here. But in the camera, before I click that little box, my mold is on this side as it films me. So it's the same thing looking from outside the mirror. And beloveds, from outside the mirror, I want you to understand yourself as the mirror. I was just told that. Understand yourself as this mirror, and understand that what is inside is non-existence. No, sorry. What is inside is existence, and what you see outside is non-existence. Okay. I got to keep that straight for myself because that just, like I said, that just came. What does that mean? Simply by focusing on non-existence, the outside, which we have given the word death as a definition, non-existence, we have given death dominion over existence, life. Meaning, beloveds, we have given this outside, which is non-existence, dominion over what is inside, which is existence, which I have been referring to as the vastness, as the self, as the absoluteness, and not just, I don't want to use, well, I'll use the word I, because in using that word I, that's every saint, that's every master, that's every oracle, that's every priestess and priest who has ever mentioned or spoken or communicated this same message. I am one with them. This is where this message is coming from. So I will use that word I, because it is a collective of I. It is not the individual I, it is the collective I that is speaking this. That's where all of this is coming from. So let me keep going. The non-existence, this shell, this human flesh that we manifested and believe is existence itself, has dominion because we have given it dominion. We have given it more focus. We have given it greater value than what is inside that cannot be seen, which is existence itself, which we are. Consciously, subconsciously, unconsciously, we are geared towards non-existence, death. In this so-called modern age, when a child is born, what is the first thing the elite, the rich, the middle class, even the poor do? They do what has trickled down to us. They buy life insurance. Think about that. The best gift you can give this newborn child is life insurance, so that when that child dies, the family will have money to bury it. We live geared towards death, is what I'm saying, is what they're saying. Well, what this collective I is saying. We live geared towards death. Out of the two wolves, we feed non-existence. We feed death. We feed futility. We feed destruction and violence and everything else that causes death, disease, disharmony, disruption. Because that is the wolf we feed. That is where we give our attention to. That is what grips us. That is what guides us. That is what leads us blindly. Because we look at the outside ages, the outside changes, the outside appears to die. And we have gotten so caught up in that cycle of existence, of life itself. But all we focus on is the death part. We're afraid of the death part. Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow you die. Live well, for tomorrow you die. So you spend so much of your time being what you think you need to be before you die. You're courting death. You're feeding death. You're nurturing death. You're honoring death. Even when you garden, it's going to grow, but it's going to die. But they're going to be pretty while they're here. And I'm going to cut them, and they're going to die. We have forgotten what the ancients knew. Non-existence, death, is only a portion of existence. It is the unseen portion. It is that which changes existence into something else, transforms. You as existence will always exist. You always have, and you always will. Let me keep going how I wrote this. Consciously, subconsciously, unconsciously, we are geared towards non-existence / death. In this so-called modern age, when a child is born, what is the first thing that is given to it? And I'm paraphrasing a little bit here because I've read this, but I'll do my best. The elite, the rich, the middle class, the poor, which has trickled down to us, this consciousness that has trickled down to us. They buy life insurance, which is really when you stop existing, when you die insurance. So what they call life insurance is really when you die insurance, when you no longer exist, when this non-existent holographic illusion of you, this body, this physical body, when this no longer exists, this is your death insurance. This is your insurance for that. And this is what you give to new life to prepare it. I think it was, what was it? The Gerber baby. I remember it for as long as I've been on this earth, and that's 54 years. And everything that is insured, we insure it against it not existing anymore. It's death. It's not working. The rat race. Eat, drink, and be merry, because tomorrow you die. Work hard. Establish your dynasty / legacy / sovereignty. over life/existence itself. So we have been conditioned that the only way to get over on life, on living, on existing, is to establish a legacy, is to establish a dynasty, is to establish this kind of sovereignty so you will always be remembered. And death can't take you away because you will have conquered it in your life by leaving this legacy, this dynasty. Your name, this thing will represent you now. So when you die, you will be remembered. This is a version of immortality, a way of establishing your worth. I want you to understand when I say this is, when I say this is a way of establishing your immortality from outside the mirror, from outside the true knowledge of who you are. You think doing something on the outside will keep your name, your energy, your frequency alive. And so this is the only way you have immortality. This is your afterlife, to be remembered this way. Immortal beings are reborn. They keep seeing themselves, no matter how many times this non-existence changes, transforms by death. It is always in existence. It is always present. It is always aware of its own vastness. It does not fear death. That's like you fearing your right eye or your left eye. And many of us do. Oh, the cursed eye. This is what we have fed, beloveds. And this is what we have fed each other. And this, because we are existence itself, this is what we brought into existence. We want to blame God for this. We are the gods that brought this into existence. By feeding non-existence, empowering non-existence, non-existence being death, non-existence being the void, non-existence. Let me keep going because I wrote about all of this. Each bloodline must take part in keeping your existence relevant in the non-existing eternal life by any means necessary, so you never cease to exist in the conscious minds of existence. Again, think of this being the mirror and you looking outside at non-existence, the illusion of life, the illusion of existence, the flip side. And what you see, you believe is real. And why you believe it is real is because you have manifested and you keep feeding it. And if you keep feeding it, then it is real to you. And each of the bloodlines, it is your duty to keep our name alive. It is your duty to keep our bloodline alive. It is your duty to keep us in existence. Live up to your duty, and you will have served us well. You will have served existence itself. This is our immortality. This is our smoke and mirrors. You keep feeding non-existence, and it will grow. And it will have dominion over existence. And that which is inside will have to be remembered. Not what you see. And that is where we find ourselves, believing ourselves to be the shadow of existence, which translates and is broken down to non-existence. All of our energies are spent on the hamster wheel / treadmill of non-existence. And beloveds, what just came up as I read that is that the outside, which is non-existence, has created this world. Jobs, duties, what is right and what is wrong, vice, everything to keep this illusion intact, this illusion of death being your inheritance, being your only gift for life is death. You're lucky you got life, but you're still gonna die. So while you're in this form, in this shape that you can see, feel, and touch, and can be touched, this is what your existence is. And that's all. And make it look good. Adorn it with gold and jewels. Let people know how expensive you are, how worthy you are to exist. And that if they want to exist in this form, they should copy you, become clones, so they can feel what existence is. This illusion of existence. So that they too will be so trained to look at what can be touched, that Horus eye fragmented. They will be so in tune with that vision, they will never understand the inner vision. They'll be too busy to observe their non-existent selves having a funky good time. because eat, drink, and be merry because you're going to die tomorrow. And I got to dominate you to get mine. And let me keep going. You know the Cherokee. Wait a minute. Okay. All of our energies are spent on the hamster wheel / treadmill of non-existence. Break down. We have turned the womb into the tomb. That blew me away. We, as a collective, who have identified only with this seen flesh, we have turned the female, the divine womb itself, into a tomb, into a matrix system. We have turned the womb into a tomb. With mirror magic / reflective thinking, we did that with reflective thinking, reflecting opposite thinking. Instead of thinking life, womb, life, we think womb, death. Once you come out of that womb, you die. That's it. Not understanding and understanding that each child that comes from that womb is existence itself and is going to contribute to existence itself. It is going to serve existence itself, no matter what it does. Because even non-existence exists inside of existence. Let me keep going. You know the Cherokee story of the two wolves. Let us name them existence, life, and the other, non-existence, death. Existence contains non-existence. Non-existence contains existence. Birth, death, rebirth. The circle of life. Existence, non-existence. It is one. Seen as many. Just like the cells that form everything seen and unseen. And beloveds, we have to keep breaking this down to the simplest denominator, and that is existence itself. Existence, in what we have been taught, is what? One cell that multiplies. Do you see yourselves as a billion trillion cells, or do you see yourself as one being? Those cells are still existing. They're in the non-existence. They die, and they keep repairing and renewing themselves and are reborn. We are no different than those cells, beloveds. We call this paradox only because we have not been able to see it as the function of ground zero. Out of that ground zero, we came up with our concept of time. Ages, cycles, seasons, years, months, days, hours, minutes, seconds. And this has begun the countdown of existence. Do you see how we have limited existence itself by giving it these segments of observation? And I'm not saying that this is not a necessary way of tracking things. But what are you tracking? You're tracking the death of things, the end of things. And when you do it in cycles and seasons, you also know that there are beginnings. There are endings and there are beginnings. There are endings and there are beginnings. They are endless. This is existing and non-existing, circling each other. This is the, what is it called? The Ouroboros snake. Eternity. Immortality. It is not something that you have to conjure. It is not something that requires magic, something outside of yourself. You are existence itself. And yes, there are those that manipulate existence itself to further their own whatever agendas, whatever they may be, for positive or negative. We each have these capabilities. We each affect our own life. How you view this non-existing self is what you manifest. I don't like myself. So you manifest the life that goes along with you not liking yourself. You manifest experiences that are going to give you this, continue this for you. Because that's how much of existence, the vastness of existence you contain within you. That's how much of a sovereign being you are. That's how much dominion you have. That existence inside has over this existence outside. When you hear of people healing themselves, that is because they have identified with that existence that is inside. And they have learned to control what is outside of them. What is outside is not stronger than what is inside. And they began to feed what is inside rather than what is outside. And no matter what takes place, there's a calmness in knowing I am existence itself. There is nothing more vast than me. There is nothing more original than me. There is nothing more long-lasting than me. There is nothing stronger than me. There is nothing wiser than me. I am existence itself. This is what the ancients knew. This is what the indigenous know. This is what they passed on. This is why they are better earth keepers than most. Let me keep going. I'll read that again. Out of that ground zero, we came up with our concept of time, ages. We came up with it. We came up with it. Okay? Existence never had a beginning or never had an ending. So it didn't come up with a time schedule. That was man. That was human beings observing. Oh, okay. This is a season. Okay. This is a moon cycle. Okay. And that happened over billions of years. You look at the Mayan clock, Mayan calendar. Billions of years. Those who have watched the zodiac and the stars form in the formations, the planets themselves, please understand, this is man's accruement of the I. All of this came from the I. And those who were able to be part of that collective of I, those whose frequency was open, who were receivers, received. And they spoke, and they wrote, and they drew pictures, and they created things. And if you ask them, how did you do that? Where did that come from? Came from the collective I. That has seen everything, that has witnessed every planet coming into being, every molecule coming into being, every thing of existence and non-existence itself. We're looking now and understanding that these same transmissions of information have always been. It is only those who want to keep benefiting from non-existence, from death. They are death dealers. They are necromongers. They worship and serve death itself. You have to understand that. That is where they get their power to manifest and to keep this going on. But circle, zero is a circle. Zero is a wheel. It turns. 1 minute you're on the bottom, the next minute you're on the top. They are on the bottom now. Existence is on the top. And that is why we are receiving these messages. And that is why it is resonating with us. And that is why we're seeing non-existence spin out of control. Because it does not know what to do with itself. And it can only keep getting darker and darker until it just, it's gone. In what is called the second death. But it wants to take everything with it. It wants to take existence itself with it. And that is why you have to know yourself as existence. And you have to feed that part of you. Because as you feed that part of you, the other part starves. The other part shrinks. The other part goes into a dormant state of non-existence. So you're not being cruel to that part of yourself, that aspect of yourself. Just like you had forgotten that you were existence. Now we will go forward and we will forget death until it is time to remember it again. Let me keep going. We call this paradox only because we have not been able to see it as the function of ground zero. Out of that ground zero, we came up with our concept of time, ages, cycles, seasons, years, months, days, hours, minutes, seconds. Age of Aquarius, beloveds. The water bearer. And this began the countdown of existence. And the further we got away from existence is all, not just one. We fragmented and began to fear and prepare for death, separate now from the understanding that existence does not exist without non-existence. And non-existence does not exist outside of existence. This is the seen and unseen. When a woman is conceived, do you see the eggs she carries? Do you know how many children she will give birth to? How many miscarriages? How many stillbirths? Or if she is unable to have children naturally? Existence is unlimited potential, possibilities. Non-existence is inert potential, dormant possibilities, limited. I'm going to read that again because that is so powerful. That is the crux is what is coming. The crux, the cross of the whole thing, the ankh. And I'm seeing them blending, beloved. I'm seeing the tau cross and the ankh becoming one. Okay. And the serpents entwined. Okay, that's very symbolic, and you can look that up, and I've seen it before, but that is what is there. Okay. Existence is unlimited potential. Existence is unlimited possibility. Non-existence is inert potential or limited potential. Dormant possibility or limited possibility is non-existence. Thus, we have the saying, making something out of nothing. Making something out of no thing. In the beginning, there was the Word. Our most abundant and empowered existence is lived, processed consciously, unconsciously, and subconsciously inside of us, intercellularly, hormonally, biologically. The outside is only a manifested reflection of that internal existence. Example, if your inside is messy and you hoard every memory, every feeling, every thought as your existence, and you are constantly digging through your own rubbish for the correct analyzation of who you are versus who you are not, then you are the eye in the middle of your own chaos, aware that you are observing yourself, much like a writer who is attempting to write and has all these notes on scraps of paper from a whole lifetime since they were an infant. All these little scraps of paper, notes, and all this clutter from starting over. You know how you scrap one idea, you grow, and that is no longer relative, so you got to start a whole new note list. Okay, and you just got all of this information existing inside of you. Let me keep going. Tell me, do you think the writer's focus is on if his surroundings are magazine cover ready, if it's pristine, or if he has found all of his inner notes, pieces, pictures, puzzles, feelings, wounds, and things that are unexplainable in order? And the writer is so focused on this They are constantly editing, scrapping, rewriting, comparing, destroying, repairing, reforming, reinventing from every possible angle, seen and unseen. Thus, they have learned to thrive and be very happy and successful in this way of existing, as limited as it may seem to others. This is what their outside looks like, and is manifested from their inside. This is what their non-existence looks like. Or what if the writer is the exact opposite and compartmentalizes, labels? Everything has a proper place for everything, for every thought, feeling, experience, concept of their existence. And everything is kept separate and perfect looking. And when something is needed, it is accessed through its step-by-step process that does not vary, does not change or allow for change, because everything must be kept in tight, strict order in order to exist as happy and successful, as limited as it may seem to others. This is the left brain versus the right brain, the yin versus the yang, the inhale versus the exhale, the male versus the female, the good versus the evil. This is the duality created by the mind. This is the either or. This is the existing life / non-existing death, and it is fed, nurtured, supported, manifested by the conscious, unconscious, and subconscious based upon the universal laws. And I just want to say for a minute, beloved, let me get this together how I want to say it. Just as we are one cell and we go into many, there are like what, 7 million people that came from this one cell? The earth, the animals, the plants. All has its own appearance. All has its own essence. All is diverse in its expression of existence and non-existence. Every human being does not look the same, does not smell the same. Handprints, fingerprints are individual. The way we function is just as individual. No matter how many things we choose to copy because of conditioning, we all have our individual preferences of how we function. Some is messy. It's messy as I don't know what. Others is order. But these appearances can also flip. What can be messy outside is in order inside. There is no chaos inside. All of the chaos is outside. Or everything is neat and in its proper place outside, but inside, oh baby. Whirlwinds, tornadoes, tsunamis, hurricanes, flying ninjas, chaos. It is diverse in this manner so that we can learn. This is the iron that we need to sharpen the iron that we are. Your way may not be someone else's way. Don't judge their way because it doesn't look like yours. That means the death of their way. Your way has to dominion over their way of processing and being and existing. That's judgment. You came from the same one cell I did. What gives you the right to judge? Know yourself inside and out, and understand that everyone is on this top up here with existence. Okay? And everyone just came from the bottom of non-existence. No judgment. No judgment. Not yours to judge. Not your purpose. There are those in the I collective who it is their purpose. But for most, it is not. So understand that we were told what surfaced for me when I was writing this was one of the scriptures that um, is not in the Bible itself, but I believe it's in the book of Thomas. Um, in every blade of grass, there I am. Beloveds, that's existence. In every blade of grass, you will find existence. In every stone, you will find existence. In every being, you will find existence and non-existence. What it has the potential to be. When a sculptor finds a slab of marble, it is existence and non-existence. And he chips away one or the other to form what will exist. But that non-existence, just because it got chipped away or removed, that energy is still there. It is still the original. We just see the illusion of the definition of how the outside has changed. Let me keep going. Zero is the middle path. It is all inclusive. It is not left/negative or right, positive, or non-existent or existence. It is all one. It does not lean to one side or the other. It has no preference. There is no difference between existence and non-existence, seen or unseen, male or female, black or white, up or down, light or dark, sun or moon or planets or stars. It's all one. Existence. Mathematics is the universal language. You can't break it down no farther than zero, baby. And no matter how many times you add zero to it to expand it or to take away from it, it's still going to be zero. No matter how many times you multiply it, no matter how many times you divide it, it's still going to be zero. It's still going to contain the existence and the non-existence. What you see and the unlimited possibilities and potential, as well as the limited possibilities and potentials. That is the whole. That is the wholeness of knowing yourself. That you exist in this way. And that death has no dominion over you. You are not its servant. You are not its slave. It is not your king. It is not your ruler. Stop feeding death. Stop resisting existence. Stop catering. The more what you think of manifests. If all you've been programmed to think about is death, death is its own reward. All of this suffering will be over when you die. So we commit suicide. We want to judge others on the way they are dying. You ain't dying like me. You doing it wrong. You're less than because of the way you are dying. You're a vegetarian or you're eating meat. So your dying is the human being is the writer of its own story, its own continuum of existence. And when I wrote that, baby, it felt like supernovas were just bursting inside of me. The writer analogy was so perfect. And I thank the I Collective. I thank for being able to receive that in that way, because that just, like I said, it lit me up. It lit me up in a way that makes me appreciate existence so much more. It has shown me a new vastness. It is teaching me what unlimited potential is. It is teaching me what the power of bliss is. And it's not something you have to chase. And it's not something you get from someone else. It's what you are when you know what you are. The human being is the writer of its own story, its own continuum of existence and non-existence, its cycles and its seasons, its order and its chaos. The chosen frequency has dominion, thus regulates, shepherds the collective. This is the grace of the Holy Trinity. 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 1, and that 1 is 0. All that exists and does not exist. And that is what I wrote, beloveds. And that is going to do this particular video. And what I'm going to do is stop this video, and I'm going to do a separate card reading portion that will, I'm going to do a prayer, and I'm going to have it align and speak to existence and non-existence, and where we should focus our attention and what we need to feed and what we need to let go of and how to let go of it. And all of this will come from um, the unseen, the I collective. Um, so namaste and thank you. And just like with any of my other videos, please feel free to use this information any way you see fit to benefit the collective, and the collective being existence itself. Um, it is given freely, just as it is received freely. So, namaste, and thank you.